Well, we are just 5 months into 2023, and so far this year, 13 million homes have been sold. Unemployment is at a 54-year low, and American spending reached its highest point ever. Sounds like the economy is good, right?
But also, we still have high inflation, right? Causing the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates to a 17-year high. On top of that, more companies are laying off workers, and 3 commercial banks have tanked, and that's just in the past few weeks.
All of this coming after months of speculation that a recession might be on the horizon. According to a Wall Street Journal survey, 61% of economists expect a recession at some point in the next year. So is the economy in good or bad shape?
With that, let's bring in Bill Hoagland, Senior Vice President of the Bipartisan Policy Center, who has spent more than 2 decades on the staff of the Senate Budget Committee. We also have Jesse Wheeler, economic analyst for Morning Consult, specializing in evaluating economic indicators, and financial consultant ErikaBlair McGrew, whose expertise includes investing, financial planning, and risk management. Bill, Jesse, ErikaBlair, thank you all so much for being with us. Okay, I don't want people to get lost in the weeds of numbers and a whole bunch of economic jargon trying to do a show for the populace here, but I just want to throw up a street level question. Is the chance of a recession real, or is the media just talking about it to have something to talk about it, to scare people? Are we talking ourselves into a calamity? We didn't see a surge of migrants at the border like they said, so maybe we won't see a recession like the economists say. No one really knows. But I'm just curious, what is your best guess, and why are we talking about it so much? Isn't there a danger inherent just in the repeated conversation for something no one knows is going to happen for sure? Jump ball, whoever gets in there first wins. Bill, you go.
I was going to say the hesitation on the part of the panel here suggests that we don't know either. I think that's probably true. I think the bottom line is that we are at a point where the economy is in a very difficult position. It's very risky out there. My particular thoughts really stem around this debt limit discussion. The more we talk, listen, if we have a debt, if we don't raise this debt limit, if we default, we will not have a recession, we'll have a depression, and that's what worries me more. I think there is a soft landing coming later this year, but I don't think we're into a very deep recession.
Jesse, what about you? What do you see the big factors here? You know, like Bill was saying, this debt ceiling crisis, it would not be good if they do not come to an agreement to avoid a default.
Yes, I agree completely there, that there's a lot of uncertainty in the economy right now, and there's also a lot of risks. You know, chief among them is that potential fiscal cliff that we're approaching rather cavalierly in the coming weeks. However, I would point out here that, you know, if we do see a recession, it's likely to be a rather shallow recession. There's a pretty good probability that that might happen later this year. With the more, you know, even on the positive front, if we are able to avoid it and maintain that soft landing, you know, most forecasters are expecting very, very weak growth. So whether we get weak growth or a shallow recession is the big question here.
Real quick follow-up here. Explain to our viewers what a soft landing is.
So, yeah, that's the big question here as well, is, you know, what exactly does a soft landing mean? More or less, it means that job growth slows and employment ticks up a little bit, but not in a kind of catastrophic way, that we're able to, you know, see like job openings slow down and wage growth start to come down, but without, you know, those big increases in unemployment that we've seen in past recessions. So it would be an easing of the economy, but, you know, not that bad.
ErikaBlair, floor is yours. What's your big picture takeaway? Recession or not? And are we talking ourselves to death about it? And is that good or bad?
Well, definitely with the way that the Fed is continuing to raise interest rates, it could push us into a recession. So I agree with the other gentleman on that. And for the most part, consumers are wondering, what does that mean for them? You know, how is it going to affect them if the economy goes into a recession? And what are the things that they can do to kind of make sure that they're in a proper position for it?
ErikaBlair, a quick follow-up there. So we are now down below 5% on inflation, and Jerome Powell hinted that they might put a pause on the interest rate hikes. Would that be a big deal if they did pause it?
Well, that would be a signal to the economy and the individuals that things may be headed in the right direction. But still, because the interest rates were rising at such a fast pace, we still could push the economy into the recession. But if they decided to pause, I would think that would be a good thing.
And all of you mentioned, obviously, the elephant in the room, which is the possibility of default in just a few weeks, June something. The date's going to continue to evolve depending on the financial realities. Everyone, though, in D.C. seems to be working on the assumption that President Biden, Speaker McCarthy will get to some kind of deal. No one really wants to default. Is it possible? Yep, but it doesn't seem. It seems like those two will get together and not take America for the first time ever off this cliff. I want to address the other narrative, though, in American politics or American economic news right now, and that's what Jay's already alluded to. After, 10 interest rate hikes, did the Fed, or is the Fed accomplishing its goal? Are you encouraged by where inflation, while still high, but not as bad nearly as it used to be, is what they did working? And when will the time come when we know for sure whether it worked? Because we know there's a lag time between their decisions and the practical impact on the ground. Bill, back to you.
Well, I'm biased here because Jay Powell worked at the Bipartisan Policy Center with me many years ago, and so I would say that he's done a good job of. It's been fast. He should have acted sooner than he did, but I do think that raising has brought his interest rate increases have been bringing down inflation. We're starting to see it come down. There are things he cannot control. And let's think about food prices. Let's think about energy prices. These things that may be outside of his control. But generally, I think he's done a good job coming through. By the way, one quick point before I let you go here, is the fact that this default the threat of a default is already having an impact upon interest rates also, and we shouldn't forget that going forward. We don't have to wait for a default. It's already starting to have an impact upon short-term interest rates.
Bill, thank you for that. And thank you also a minute ago for using the word depression, which obviously is a massive blinking red light that should get everyone's attention and be scary. Jesse, same to you. Has the Fed done its job here? Have the interest rate hikes worked? And what do you think has been, if any, the downside for everyday America?
I think the Fed's been doing a pretty good job here as well. Inflation has come down a lot while we're focusing on the fact that it remains elevated, especially in certain areas. I think we should not forget that it's come down persistently for 10 months in a row, and we've been able to do this without really disrupting a fairly robust labor market. So while it remains persistent, and whether or not the Fed actually pauses or potentially hikes again at the next meeting remains to be determined. There's a lot of data still coming in on that front. But overall, all measures of inflation are headed in the right direction, down.
ErikaBlair, I want to end on your final thoughts on this issue that we haven't talked about yet, and that is that series of bank failures this year that is really kind of complicating the economic picture. What does that say about the potential for a recession, how that factors in, and what advice do you have to Americans out there who are worried about their money regardless of what bank they have it in?
Right. I would say for the average American, they need to really put things into perspective. So the three banks that failed, they were specialty banks and they had a unique type of clientele, right? Another thing that these banks did, well, one in particular, Silicon Valley Bank, when interest rates were low, they bought a bunch of bonds. They had bonds on their books. And now that the interest rates have risen, those bonds do not have the same value. So they have decreased in value, so that caused trouble for them. But for the average American, what they need to realize is that your bank is covered by FDIC insurance. So that means for up to $250,000, you have a bank account that is insured by the federal government. Now, if you have more than $250,000 in a bank account, that's a great problem to have, right? Right. So for most of us who has, $250,000 or less in a bank account, it is FDIC insured. The other thing you want to pay attention to is the most recent bank that failed. Its deposit accounts were picked up immediately by JP Morgan Bank, right? So there are things in place to make sure that you're not going to lose your money. But if you're really, really concerned about a bank failing, then I would say to make sure that you put your money in a national bank, because specialty banks or regional banks are going to be the ones who probably run into trouble first.
Can I do something real quick to end the interview and a round robin? Because I want to end on an issue I think everyday Americans care about. Literally a yes or no question. And we'll go Bill, Jesse, then ErikaBlair. Yes or no? Good time to buy a home? Bill?
No.
Jesse?
No.
ErikaBlair?
No.
Okay, good time to buy a car. Bill?
No.
Jesse?
Yeah, no again.
ErikaBlair?
Absolutely not.
Good time to open a new credit card. Bill?
No.
Jesse?
If you keep your balance down, it's okay.
All right, a straddle. I respect that. ErikaBlair?
It depends on what you're using the credit card for. So I would say it depends.
A caveat to end on. I love it.
Caveat. We like it. Okay. Listen, this has been a great round of Jeopardy. I appreciate your time and your expertise in boiling things down for us. I sincerely thank you all. Bill, Jesse, and ErikaBlair. Thanks so much. Enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks.